The Gator brain. You and I have it, and it is possible to get control over it to a certain degree, but we'll never get rid of it entirely. People talk about the triune brain. You'll hear terms like an amygdala hijack. These are short-term ways of expressing when a human being's Gator brain is beginning to rule their behavior a little bit more than it should. We use this foam Gator as our reminder of the Gator brain. Now, this one, I did a brain stemectomy on it, and I screwed a light bulb into its head to remind us of what we're talking about here, because we want to move. No alligator is going to become a great creative being, but we in our brain have this ability to override that if we intend to. So first, we have to work on the intention to get ourselves in that particular place. So how does it seem? How does it play out when we do that? Well, the primary way that the Gator brain plays out in human beings is it resists change, which also sometimes looks like arrogance, which also sometimes looks like being a know-it-all. And if you know everything, then there's no need to change, which sometimes looks like pretending that you're all grown up and there's no need for personal development. So there is a way to override that, but we can't override it unless at first we acknowledge that it's there. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got lots of people in my life that are willing to show me where I need to do some growing, And the more I attract that to myself and listen to it, the more likely I am to get there. So the main way that the Gator brain is going to show up is it's going to judge things. Think about times that you've heard of some new thing and no, that'll never work. Or maybe you've heard other people doing that, going back to our drug addict analogy. We're all kind of Gator brain addicts in a way, and we can always find somebody whose Gator brain is worse than ours. I'll give you an example, personal. So one time we were expanding the office at New and Improved, our company, and we were laying out how the interior flow of that office was going to be. And my chief financial officer at the time and we had a bit of a disagreement about the way that office should be laid out. His name's Dave. And I own the building, and at some point I'm going to repurpose that building to an apartment instead of an office when we expand or move or do whatever. So I had my opinion about what should be done. Dave had his, right? And one day we're up in the office getting closer to the time where we're going to have to make some hard decisions about where things are going to be. And my daughter, Hannah, I don't know how old she was, 7, 8, 9 years old, I don't know, somewhere in that age range. And she's up there doing some piecework for us, putting covers on Post-it pads that, remind people of the ways to be when we're brainstorming. And Dave brings up his pet idea again about the way to lay out the office and to make things be the way that he thought they should be. And we had talked about it before, and I wasn't sold on the idea. But instead of saying, Dave, I'm still not sold on that idea, what I did is I said, Dave, we're not going to do that. Let's move on. We got to get stuff done. Let's move on. It's just not going to be that way. About that time, over at our house, which is just a few hundred feet from the office, my wife rings this kind of lunch bell, and my daughter and I get up and we're going to go over to lunch. As we walk over, my daughter, Hannah, very young, turns to me and says, with the finger wagging, Dad, you really gatored Dave in there. My highly paid executive coach, right? She saw me behaving in a way that she knows I don't want to behave. She saw me being closed-minded. She saw me not trying to bring out the best creative interaction between Dave and I. She saw that Dave had an opinion and I had an opinion, and neither one of us was really listening to each other. But she was on me at that time saying, Dad, you really gatored Dave. Now, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I didn't rationalize at that moment. I have other times, but I didn't rationalize with, well, but Dave's idea is stupid. I said, thanks, Hannah. And we turned around. We went back up into the office, and I apologized to Dave, not with the apology of, Dave, I'm sorry. I was kind of nasty in the way I said that, but you understand, right? No, not that kind of an apology, a different one. Dave, I'm sorry. I should be listening better. And so here's what I want you to do if you're willing. Can you help me get your thinking in my head? I just really want to experience it from your perspective. Now, Dave and I, we got along well. We fought well and productively. And he let go and he says, yeah, all right, good. Let's give it a try. Fortunately, my daughter was there to observe her dad being a little bit more mature than he was at first, right? Being a growing up instead of a stuck, I'm all grown up kind of guy. And so I listened. And as I'm really getting Dave's thinking in my head, not from the point of view of wanting to defend myself from Dave's thinking, but from the point of view of experiencing it from Dave's perspective, all of a sudden I had this aha moment where I thought of something that neither one of us had even come close to thinking of. A better solution. Not Dave's solution, my solution, halfway in between, something totally different. We both got excited about it and started building on it, and that's what we ended up doing. It never would have happened unless kind of a lucky set of circumstances had occurred. Hannah, my executive coach, had a moment of privacy with me because it was lunch and she could give me the feedback. I, for whatever reason that day, wasn't full of myself, and so I turned around and we went back up. Dave, for whatever reason that day, was willing to he had every justification to be upset with me, but to let that go and to move on and dive into it. And whatever reason, my brain made the novel connection that day. So lesson number one is we have to start watching for our Gator brain. And within this lesson, you also see a teaser of lessons to come. I had a coach. I was willing to let my brain do what my brain does. And I was willing to be humble. So ask yourself this. In what ways and what situations, I guess, do you sense that your Gator brain shows up most? Don't look for somebody who's worse. That's easy. Where is your learning edge with respect to managing your Gator brain? You get some of those spots in your mind or some of those relationships in your mind, you'll be ready for what we're going to do next.